Hey, what's up everybody? It's Felix here from HeyDon'tShoot.com, and my original plan for today's vlog entry was to go out and have my first test flight with my new Phantom 2 Vision Plus quadcopter, but as it turns out, Mother Nature was against me today, and a typhoon has rolled in from the South China Seas and has completely swamped the Korean Peninsula with rain today, so not a good day for flying my quadcopter. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our YouTube subscribers. As of today, we're over 900 subscribers, and that's just really quick growth considering it was just a couple months ago that we had our first 100 subscribers. So on behalf of Turner and myself, we'd just like to say thanks to all of our viewers and subscribers out there. We're just a couple of active duty soldiers stationed here on the Korean Peninsula, just trying to pass the time, and we're doing that by sharing our love of photography with you guys out there. So thanks for watching, and be sure to share our videos, like, and tell your friends to subscribe as well. Today what I wanted to do is take a moment and have a little show and tell and show you guys my vintage camera collection. I got into film photography because Turner has this awesome Canon AE1 that he was producing some great shots with. The look of film is really unique, and once I realized how affordable it is to get started in film photography, I went ahead and took the leap. I also realized that getting into film photography would result in me becoming a better photographer and having a better understanding of light, aperture, shutter speed, and all that stuff. Now, even though a lot of that is automated for you with a digital camera, I think it's really important to understand the relationship between light, shutter speed, aperture, and all that kind of good stuff. So I think it has made me a better photographer, and I hope to continue shooting more film and digital. The first camera I want to show you today is this very cool Agfa Optima Pratt 35mm half frame camera. Now what that means is that two pictures are recorded onto one slide of 35mm film. So you actually get 72 pictures out of a 36 exposure film roll. The idea is kind of cool. I have a roll of film in here and I haven't finished it yet, and it's actually more difficult than you would think to finish off 72 exposures on a film camera. So as soon as I finish off the rest of the exposures, I'll show you some of the results. The shutter is here, the focus is here, and I will say that it is kind of difficult to focus. The viewfinder is a little bit small, and you can't really tell when you change your focus too much, because what it's got here for your focus is basically a portrait, a setting for portrait shots, a setting for like a group shot, and a setting for landscape shots. And you can't really tell in the viewfinder how in focus it is. So you just kind of have to use your judgment in distance. And here's the shutter. So I'll fire off a shot for you and let you hear the sound of the shutter. And then here's the film advance. And inside the viewfinder for this little camera, there is a red dot that when you press halfway down on the shutter, it turns green if the exposure is correct. Again, I haven't developed this first roll of film yet, so I don't know how accurate it is. But that is the Agfa Optima Pratt 35mm half frame camera. The next one I want to show you is one of my favorite vintage film cameras, and this is the 35mm Zeiss Icon Contaflex, and this one is known as the Super BC. The Super BC has a film advance here, unlike the previous versions where you just had to twist it with your fingers. It actually has a film advance lever here. This is a rangefinder camera, which means that you'll know you're in focus when your images line up. Right, there's like, you look through the viewfinder and you'll see two halves of the image, and when you line them up, you'll know that you're in focus. Everything is built into the lens, and you can add other lenses to it by removing, it's unusual, it's not like an SLR where this whole thing comes off, it's just a little piece that comes off, and then you can add different lenses to it. But everything is on the lens, the shutter speed, the aperture, and the focus. You set your film speed here, and here's your shutter and film advance. That is the very cool Zeiss Icon Contaflex Super BC. They're extremely affordable considering the quality of the lens that you get. I mean, the Zeiss name, everybody knows, is a quality name. So this is a Zeiss 2.8 50mm Tessar lens, and I can't wait to take some shots with this. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is another Agfa. This one is called the Agfa Karat 4, and I have taken some pictures with this, and I'll show you those samples in this video probably right now. We'll be scrolling through some samples. A couple of things that are unusual about this camera, or different. This is a strut folding lens, so you'll see that the lens actually pops out. There's a little release button here. Like most cameras of this age, everything is on the lens. The aperture and the shutter speed and the focus. And for this one, your film advance goes the opposite direction of most camera film advances. Most camera film advance, you go from your left to right. This one, to advance the film, you go from your right to left. And it takes a little getting used to, but it's fine, and I actually kind of like it. Next up is the Konica 3A. Now, this is another camera I haven't shot pictures with yet. I've been collecting so many vintage film cameras, I went a little bit crazy. So a lot of them I haven't shot with yet, I just haven't had time. But this looks to be a very high quality rangefinder camera. It comes with a 50mm Kanishiroku lens, and this is just a very svelte camera. It feels like a Leica. It's quite heavy and robust. It's all stainless steel. This also has an unusual film advance. The film advance is here, so you operate it with your right hand. The shutter is over here, and that is the Konica 3A. Very cool camera. Okay, moving along, we get a look at our first medium format camera, and this is the very interesting Agfa Isolette. So you take a look at this and you say, well, where is the lens? Well, this is one of those pop-out cameras. So there's a button here on top that you press, and the lens pops out. The shutter is here, the film advance is here. All right, next let's get into some more modern 35mm SLR type cameras, or cameras that are, say, from the 80s and newer. The first one I want to show you is my very first film camera, and this is the Minolta X700. I've taken quite a few pictures with it, and it's a really great camera. What I love about this camera is it's got an aperture priority mode, which means you set the aperture given the lighting conditions, and the camera sets everything else. And using the aperture priority mode, I've had a lot of great results. So it acts a little bit like a modern camera that way, but of course you can go full manual, and it'll shoot as fast as 1/1000th of a second. So it's great in bright daylight. All around a great camera and very affordable. I think I got this one for around $100. Next up is one of my newest additions. This is the very cool Canon ML. And the reason I picked this 35mm camera is because it's supposed to be completely automatic. It's got a 40mm lens with aperture of 1.9. You load it, it loads automatically, it rewinds automatically, it advances automatically. You can put it in automatic mode, and it'll take care of everything for you. I have yet to shoot pictures with this camera, but when I do, I'll be sure to post the pictures. Okay, we have here another Minolta. This is the Minolta Matic 7S. Also another camera that has a lot of automatic features. If you look at the top here, you see you can put the aperture in auto, and you can put the shutter speed in auto, and the camera will do all the work for you. All you have to do is focus and shoot. This is another camera I have yet to shoot with, but as soon as I do, you guys will be the first to see the pictures. Again, that's a very nice looking Minolta Matic 7S. Next up, we have another Minolta. I guess I'm kind of partial to Minolta cameras because I do use a lot of Minolta lenses on my Sony Alphas, and my first film camera was a Minolta, so I have a lot of confidence in the quality of the Minoltas and the quality of the Minolta lenses. This is the Minolta Srt 201. Great film camera. I've got my first roll of film in it. I loaded it with Acros 100. This is a Fuji brand film. It's black and white, so as soon as I finish this roll, I will post the pictures. Pretty straightforward SLR film camera. You set your film speed here, shutter speed, you set your aperture, and this does have a meter in it, so you use a battery, and then you can use the meter to make sure your exposure is correct. I just picked up this Olympus Om, and what caught my eye about this camera is that the seller on eBay took the time to put a new skin on it, and it really looks nice. It's this burnt leather color, real leather. They did a pretty good job of applying it, and it just looks really nice. It's got a 50mm lens on it. Should be great for shooting. It's got a meter that works, and I can't wait to get out and shoot some pictures with it. Add this to the list of cameras I have yet to shoot with, but that really gives me something to always look forward to. And then last for the SLR type 35mm cameras is this Rolleiflex. Now I purchased this Rolleiflex because the name Rolle has a great tradition. They're known for high quality cameras, and I wanted a 35mm Rolleiflex, and this one was great. I bought another one simply called the Rolleiflex SL35, and I gave that one as a gift to Turner, which I'm sure you'll see some pictures from that as well. But this one is a pretty straightforward camera. It does have a meter in it. You set your film speed here, set your shutter speed here, set your aperture here. The meter will tell you if you're in correct exposure. You just make your adjustments and the shutter is here. That is the Rolleiflex SL35M. Not that any of the previous cameras you've seen are slackers, but these are really the top dogs in my collection of 35mm film cameras. What I'm holding in my hand here is a Leica M3 with a Leica Summicron f2.0 dual range lens. The Leica M3 is considered one of the all-time great cameras. It is really durable and robust. If you've been reading my personal photography blog, you'll know that I took this in for a service and a cleaning when I first bought it, and I dropped it on my way out of the Leica camera store. It sustained no damage. This is a well-built camera, built to last. These cameras were made in the late 1950s to early 1960s and are known to be among the best cameras in the world. I have taken some pictures with this one, and I'll show you some in this video. I wasn't kidding when I said I was going a bit crazy with the vintage cameras. I just couldn't help myself. They're so beautiful, especially these Leicas. So I went ahead and spent a little extra money. I figured I deserved it because I've been over here in Korea for a couple of years and photography is my passion. So I went ahead and picked up a Leica M6 with a Leica 35mm Summicron lens. This camera is also considered among the best the world has ever seen. I've got my first roll of film in it right now. As soon as I have it developed, I'll share those pictures with you. While I don't consider myself a materialistic person, I do feel such a great sense of satisfaction just simply owning one of these. I never thought I'd own a Leica, much less two Leicas, and I can't wait to get out there and shoot some great street photography with this. This 35mm lens ought to be really great for landscape photography. I'd like to have a wider lens, but just for the money, I mean, they're so expensive. I just am going to have to be content with a 35mm lens, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of great results with it. Can't wait to show you guys. Okay, last but not least, we've got the medium format cameras, starting out here with the Hasselblad 503CW. Mounted on it is a Carl Zeiss 80mm lens, and I also have a Carl Zeiss 150mm lens. This camera is absolutely awesome. I've taken some great shots with it. It's always my go-to medium format camera. It's got a film back here. This is the cartridge that you load the film into. You can get digital backs for this camera, but they're like $10,000, $11,000. It's ridiculous. So I think I'm just going to stick with film on this. It's a great camera. I came across this Mamiya 645 1000S on eBay for an unbelievable price. I can't believe that these are so low priced, and it's easy to get into medium format film photography if you want to. This camera cost me, I think, $275. What a great deal. It's got a waist level viewfinder with a 2x magnifier, which I always use. It's got a little button here that you press and the magnifier pops out. You just push it back in with your finger. It's got a 55mm lens, which is a nice lens for landscape and pretty much everything. Here's your film advance. Here's your film cartridge back here. Over here is your shutter speed, and then your aperture and focus is on the lens itself. Great camera. I just dropped off my first roll of film with it, so I'll show you the results when I get the film back. And here's the camera I'm most excited about that I've recently added to my collection. This is the Mamiya 7. I came across a video on YouTube about the life work of a photographer named Mary Ellen Mark, very renowned photographer who has recently passed away. And I was watching the video and I found it to be really inspirational. So I was watching this and I saw that she had this peculiar looking camera in her hand, and I wanted to know what it was. So I did a little research and I saw that it was the Mamiya 7 II that she was using, and while I can't afford a Mamiya 7 II, I could afford a Mamiya 7. I just finished my first roll of film with this. I dropped it off at Wolpo in Seoul to be developed, and I'll show you those pictures as soon as I get them back. But this one is really great camera. It's got a very quiet shutter. It's just a light click when you hit the shutter, very unique, and an excellent medium format camera for film photography for that reason, very discreet. So that is my very modest vintage film camera collection. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for our next full-length episode. It's just another photography adventure where Turner and I go out to a river here near the demilitarized zone and try to get some nice long exposure shots of the river in this beautiful rock formation on the other side of the river. We definitely got a little bit wet and dirty on that one. We had to traverse, well, you'll see on the video, so stay tuned for that next full-length episode. For Turner, I'm Felix, saying thanks for watching another great HeyDon'tShoot.com vlog.